right now. And I'm going to then do the intro in, let's see, 5, 4. Live from the internet, it is the Crystal Chronicles, your official Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast. Welcome to episode 49, recorded on April 4th, 2019. Deemed the beautiful glitcher, but we'll get more into that as we go. So I want to welcome all of you joining us on Twitch as we speak for the podcast live. We do record this live every single Thursday at 8 p.m. Central, so join us for the fun. We try to interact as much as we can. And I welcome all of you listening on YouTube, listening on Twitch later, and also listening to us on your favorite audio podcast recording. Welcome. This week, I have my friend and yours, Mino Spellgood. How you doing, Mino?
Oh my God! Did you always pronounce my name that way? I'm surprised. Little tangent. I was giving a Macnol crap on Discord because I've always called him Mancol, and he said he asked me to stop because he's like, I think at this point people hear Mancol more than Macnol, and I said, well, everyone calls me Mino, so it's revenge for that.
It's Pierre's fault.
So, but yeah, that's why I just noticed you pronounced it right. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. I don't care. You can call me Mino, but just stood out to me this week.
I did listen to the show last week, and you did say Mancol 400 times.
I've said Mancol on air since we knew about Mancol, but
it's Macnol.
Yeah, he apparently did not appreciate it after a few months of it. Yes. So I'm gonna stop doing that.
Not only have I said Macnol, but I spelled it several times on the podcast over the last couple months, so that people.
I blame Mark for that, by the way. He's the one who came up with the Mancol nickname.
That is true. That I did.
And I just wanted him to know it was a running joke, not meant to be like funny or to poke fun of him, but I just thought it was a cool running joke for the podcast, so I just ran with it the whole time.
And we do not have Pierre with us this week. He is doing some family stuff, so filling in for Pierre, I guess, is me, and filling in for me is our friend and yours, Kriese, a.k.a. Xerink. How are you doing, Kriese?
I'm glitching into the podcast just like everyone's glitching into the Maria Lost chapter.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, we have not a lot of content, but a lot of things to talk about. Isn't that kind of funny?
So much to talk about.
So a couple things to talk about today in terms of the news. First of all, I want to shout out congratulations to @Drobman on our Discord server. I was trying to think what that thing's called. On our Discord server, our official The Crystal Chronicles Discord server, the only unmodded Discord server in the DFFOO universe.
Way to bring that. I was actually going to bring that up when we talked about the glitch, which chat's already blowing up about. We'll go into detail about it.
But Drobman, a good friend of the show, they are him and Drob Woman, his wife, I don't have any idea what her name is. They are they just welcomed their newborn baby into the world, and so we celebrate with Drobman and his family at the addition of their newest addition, Baby Drob Baby. So we also had a few things happen this week. The first was an April Fool's event.
Yeah. Kriese, you want to walk us through the details about that, Kriese? But also, really quick, congratulations, Drobman. I know he's been a huge fan of the show since even before I was on it, because I used to see him tweet Mark and Pierre nonstop on Twitter. And, he's always been an energetic and welcome addition to our community. But, Kriese, tell us about the April Fool's event, please.
So, on Monday, Sunday, we got a new co-op event that was technically tied to the Heretic event. So you find a lot of the same Heretic bosses in a co-op team now. But there was also an April Fool's event tied with it, where a couple things happened. First, we got 2 new stickers. So if you've not been looking at your Decidia Point spending habits, you can buy new Cactuar stickers. 2 of them to be specific. And along with that, we also got an April Fool's event where you could earn rewards by fighting Kefka in the co-op Heretic event. What do you get, you ask? Well, Gil.
This is a great April Fool's on Square Enix's part, because now my my quest log and my mission log is just being spammed with notices. I can't collect the gil. I've been capped out forever. Before you say farm artifacts, I'm gonna cut that off. But I've my daily inbox for friends and login bonuses is at like 17 notices, all gil that I can't collect. And the mission stuff is all more Kefka gil I can't collect. So congratulations, Square Enix. This is a pretty big troll on my account.
I think, Mino, you should do some artifact grinding.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eidojas are coming. Eidojas are coming in, what, 2 weeks? Yeah.
Yeah, you really should do some artifact grinding. Anyway, so that's it. Yep, pick up the Cactuar stickers if you haven't. And I'm not grinding Kefka tokens for that. What the highest is like, what, 111,000 gil, or is it just 11,000 gil?
I think it's 10K, right?
Yeah.
From what I've heard.
Okay.
It's 11,111 gil, I think.
Yeah. So so surprise on me if they change it here in 9 days into like weapon tokens or something.
Right.
But it is fun to have a little fun with April Fools, and it's fun to have Kefka jump up into those co-ops. There is a April Fool's video from Square Enix for Final Fantasy XIV. Were you guys able to watch that, or did you watch that video? The Omega Home?
I did. No thoughts. Kriese?
I did not watch it. I've been way too busy this week.
Well, I thought it was pretty funny. If you haven't had a chance, YouTube, I forget what it's called. We'll link it in the show notes, but you can Google Square Enix, their YouTube site, or just Omega, Final Fantasy Omega, and it's basically like your Amazon Echo, but it's Omega, and it floats around and it does terrible things and it argues with them. Yeah, it's cute.
I will say that I did catch online that for the Japanese side of things, for April Fools and Final Fantasy XIV, Square Enix released a joke preview comic for an alternate universe high school parody of Final Fantasy XIV characters, which looked a lot more interesting than the April Fool's video we got.
You need to send that to me. That sounds really cool. But also,
I think it was only a couple of pages, but I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, send it to me. But I do give props to the global version for doing a live action thing. That's probably a lot more effort and time invested. Also, everyone on stream is saying you could be a little louder, Mark. I don't know if... Guys, can you still hear Mark clearly? Because we're doing this for recording purposes. Our recording volume usually comes out pretty different after the show and live. So if you can't, let us know if it's a big deal right now.
Yeah, thank you. Just let us know, and I'm screwing around with my microphone too. So, yeah, we also have a poll for the Eidojas. If you don't know, those are the new 5-star artifacts that we're going to be getting fairly soon. And now you can go onto you actually can do the poll right from your app. You go on to news, artifact poll, and you can scroll down, and you can actually take the poll right through your app, which is nice. You don't have to go online and do it. And you get to pick from all the characters listed. You get to pick who you would like, and you get to choose 10 and anything else. So
So the interesting thing is they said the Eidoja's campaign is going to be broken up into 2. So I think 6 and 6, because there's going to be 12 total. They said 2 are already locked in, and we're voting for 10. The 2, I'm going to guess, are the characters getting EXs, right? I think that's the most obvious thing. 2 characters locked in has to be the 2 characters getting EXs. The 10 voting for, I believe Mark said he put all 10 votes on the Squall.
Yeah,
right?
10,
Is that correct?
Yeah. Squall.
And I voted for all monks because I want the Eidoja selection to be as shitty as possible, so I have an excuse not to farm artifacts. What were your 10 votes, Kriese?
I did a mix of characters I wanted, such as Thancred and Ash, and I think Lilliset, and a mix of characters that were kind of popular, like Warrior Light and that sort of thing. I don't remember exactly who I voted for anymore.
Yeah, well, but interesting thing to note is at the bottom of the notice, they said these Eidojas are not going to include the reworked Eidojas that Japan got for a certain amount of characters, which is very interesting. And is this the topic to talk about it? I mean, is this the time to talk about it, Mark?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
So in Japan, I think it was about 6 characters got their reworks in the form of Eidojas because they were considered so weak they needed a boost. Characters like Yuna, Lion, whatever else, Kriese will fill in the gaps here.
Vivi, Aerith, Cater, a couple more supports that are really bad right now, but there's some pretty bad characters in there, yeah.
Right, so the point was that these were the first rounds of reworks for characters who are just irredeemably awful. And they did it through Eidojas in Japan. But it was so unpopular because, but I mean, these are huge buffs because like an artifact for, say, Sarah is when the enemy's debuffed, you get a aura, party-wide aura for 20% attack and max brave or something. So you stack that up, that's 60%, and you know, it's ridiculously strong. But it was so unpopular in Japan, like the player base rioted because they said that character reworks should not be based around RNG. That they eventually said, all right, we screwed up. Sorry. Moving forward, we're just going to give everyone reworks innately. And then that's like the Thancred rework we got from the future. Cloud and Onion Knight coming up, they just got the buffs. But as an artifact to the Japanese game, in JP at least, these characters still need these artifacts to be good. And we didn't know how they were going to balance it. Now that they're saying these Eidojas we're getting aren't going to include those rework Eidojas, the question is Global going to get those reworks built in naturally? And how are they going to balance it compared to JP? Right. As we use Sarah as an example, if you farm the right artifacts, she can get an aura for 60% attack and max brave for a debuff. How do you put that onto the character without breaking it when you don't have to farm for the RNG? So that's pretty exciting. We'll see what's going to happen.
Well, does the character become useless if they don't give us that? I mean, Yuna and Sarah became very useful with those artifacts. Without those artifacts, are they going to be usable? Maybe at some point, but still.
Right, like right now in Japan, they're balanced around it. For example, when Lion got her EX, it was balanced around having optimal artifacts, and she still was pretty good, not great. So the question is, are they going to give us the full benefit of those artifacts off the bat? If so, those characters are going to get ridiculously strong. But I mean, it's a weird tightrope they're walking. I have no idea what they're going to do, so we'll see. But right now they put the vote for the Eidojas for the 10 characters inside the game, which I got to give props to Square Enix. That's what everyone was asking for.
Right.
Because in the past, when they did the early character polls for Kuja and Sephiroth, they just added the totals from Twitter and Facebook. And a lot of people complained saying, you know, most players of the games don't know that you should put it in the game. And they did for this one.
Unfortunately, that means there's a lot of casual players voting for their favorite. So I have pulled up.
And the Squall is on the top of the polls.
Yes,
don't act like this wouldn't have happened with the Facebook Twitter, because the results were always predictable. Kuja won the first poll, most popular character. Sephiroth won the second poll.
Right.
Everyone saw those coming. So. But, yeah, the polls right now are predictably the most popular characters.
But it's interesting. So it's changed since the last time. I just pulled it up right now, the poll totals. Squall, 60% of the votes at number 1. Kate Sith is number 2.
Interesting.
Then Cloud, Warrior Light, Vaughn, Terra, Lightning, Lael, Tidus, Aiko. Trailing behind Setzer, Ace, Ramza, Lilizette. Thancred. People, vote for Thancred.
Thancred is not going to get another chance at artifacts for a long time. I really hope he shows up in the top 10.
That really sucks. Because
I'm gonna assume that, like Mark said, it's mostly casual players voting. So you got the most popular characters in front, regardless of viability. You know, Squall, Cloud, Warrior of Light, Terra, etc. But I want to say that's a testament to people like Kate, Sith, and Lael that they're so strong. Even casual players have noticed, probably. And but yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like it looks like the poll is going to be based off of character popularity more than viability.
Well, and none of the upcoming LC's characters were on that as well. Interesting to notice.
Correct. It's only current Lost Chapter and story characters that are available.
Yep. It makes sense because they want to do it for So the last thing, so I mean, there are people on our Discord and Reddit who are pissed and running campaigns saying, why are people voting for crappy characters? Well, you got to remember that the hardcore player base is a tiny percentage of the whole. Popularity is going to win out.
Always. So, Mino, you had a Square Enix community support story, kind of a feel-good story that you wanted to share with us?
Right. So, there's been a lot of negativity about this game this month. I think everyone could feel that because people keep telling me over and over in the last week or two. And we'll get to that later in the podcast. We'll talk about the state of the game. But I was told that there was a story worth sharing that there's a member of our community that has a gambling/spending problem of buying, the gotcha trap of spending too much money on gems and going into the cycle like more money than they can afford to constantly buy gems because they want to pull a certain weapon. And it became such a problem that they reached out to Square Enix to see if they can get their account locked voluntarily so they wouldn't be able to spend gems. Many players know that Square Enix has a soft ban for RMTers that they detect to make it so they can't purchase gems anymore. Well, after some work, it seems like Square Enix was able to grant his request to lock his gems for purchase. And he said to tell people that he only found this out because the temptation hit him again and he was trying to buy gems. And he found out it was successfully locked. So I think it's very cool Square Enix went out of their way to do this, to voluntarily lock someone's account from purchases. I feel like that's a good message because it means, at least somebody at Square Enix doesn't think that this gacha is purely out to make money, that, they're in it to help the players. We've heard lots of stories in the community before about gacha claiming this gambling addiction. And it seems like that there is an option, and Square Enix is putting out that option for people who can't trust themselves to be responsible with their spending, that Square Enix will work with them to make sure this gacha doesn't ruin their lives. And I thought that was a nice little story for our current time.
I agree. It is a nice story, and I appreciate you sharing. And it's good to know that if you do have a gambling problem, you don't have to call 1-800-GAMBLING, 1-800-GAMBLING, which you can. But you can talk to Square Enix personally, and they'll lock your account. They'll parent lock your account for you, and you don't have to be tempted with gem sales. Yeah. I'm not going to do that, so...
I mean, I have a problem myself.
Yeah.
We were just saying last episode, I want to buy every costume.
No,
two a month.
What you need, they need to sell a special device. You know that they have this thing on the car, like if
the breathalyzer.
Yeah,
yes.
Like you can't start the car until you blow into the thing, and it makes sure.
Agree.
Yeah, you just need one of those on your phone so that you can't spend gems and buy gems when you're intoxicated.
I need a breathalyzer for my phone. Kriese can agree. And I've heard people asking for this for years. I should invent invent this and become a millionaire, because they said, you know, when you're drunk and you get your phone and you start drunk texting your exes and stuff, like, I think there's a lot of demand for a breathalyzer for your phone.
All right.
I'm sure it already exists elsewhere, but hey, we'll keep it at that.
So moving on, we want to briefly talk about the Heretic events. We did get the addition of co-ops this week, but a few things with the Heretics. You guys talked about the Heretics last week. We were all able to beat them eventually. Again, I commend everyone to go on to Reddit and search out Macnol's guides. That is Macnol, and Macnol does this call to arms, and then he does these video guides, which is a collection of those call to arms. You know, he's been getting 60 to 75 video run-throughs of all of these different strategies, and so there's tons of different strategies to take on, for instance, these Heretics. Tons of different strategies, so encourage you to check that out. He did, for this particular Heretic quest, do a level 100 video list, because some people were having struggles getting the high score for the level 100, and also an EX video list. So encourage you all. I don't know why everybody had such a problem. I just brought Vanille, Thancred, EX, and Ico, and it seemed to be really easy. So apparently other people were having some trouble with this guy.
I will say right now that I think this is following a pattern we saw with the last EX that a lot of people ignored, but I saw personally, which is that currently Heretic events are being more and more designed for the synergy characters. Last event, it was...
Kriese, sorry. So do we want to talk about this here, the difficulty, or do we want to wait the state of the game?
I just want to, since Pierre, or sorry, not Pierre, Mark brought it up right now, I just want to touch on this briefly. We can talk about it more in the state of the game, because I just want to state that I never actually got the full score rewards for the last Heretic, because at the time I had a 0 LB35 CP Setzer, and I had no 15 CP Lael, and I was not able to get the max score rewards at the time for the last Heretic a month ago. This Heretic event, I had Thancred EX and MLB Ico, and I got the score rewards first try without even thinking about it. I didn't even have to try for that. So I think there's a distinction between synergy making a big difference here, which we have not seen in a long, long time. Anyways, that's just what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's fair enough. But there is some options out there for non-synergy teams. I mean, thankfully, a lot of the synergy teams were just 35, 15 CP teams, so it's not like you were necessarily bringing all EX characters and plenty of non-EX runs. But yeah, so go check that out, and we will do what we can, or we will help you out if you want to jump into Discord as well. We also got co-ops. They are fairly easy. For the co-op, you have to do what? You have to do a couple runs for things. It's 3 rounds. I'm trying to. It's been a while since I've done the co-op.
It is 3 waves, and it is a slow co-op. It's not a hard co-op, but it is a slow co-op. I actually have not gotten all of the limited rewards yet, just because it's such a pain to do. So for the first wave, you have a plant golem and a behemoth. Second wave, you have a Lamia queen and 2 mannequins. And the third wave, you have Archaeoavis. And alone, they're not difficult, but together, they're just a pain and a drag to get through. But not difficult, and almost everyone I've seen has synergy for this.
So, Macnol also does a co-op guide and some strategies for how to do the co-op. And in that guide, he listed, I think, Bahamut as maybe the best, or not Bahamut. Well, either Bahamut or Brothers is the best choice. I don't have his guide up there, his cheat sheet for co-op up there right now. But I said, you know, I really think after playing this a few times that 3 fast summons is really the best way to do this. And so Macnol, I'm going to butcher his name, and I'm going to try not to butcher his name. Somebody help me out here.
Amaterasu?
Yeah, I'm just going to call him Materasu.
Materasu, yes. Amaterasu.
Amateur Sue.
Yes, Amateur Sue. No. Amaterasu.
Amaterasu.
Materasu. First of all, if you yes, thank you. If you don't check him out on YouTube, he's on our Discord. He does tons of runs for all the EXs, and he brings the most bonker characters, and he just does these EXs over and over and over again, and he records them all. And so if you're ever looking for help, he's a great person to just watch. And he's just a fun, so I wanted to give him a shout out. But he and Macnol and I went through and actually did a all fast summon run with 2 Thancrids EX and 1 Star Shadow says call him Amy. I was going to ask him what I could call him, but I forgot to. We did a 2 Thancred run with 1 Ico, all 3 fast summons, and we're able to beat it in like 14 turns. 455,000 was our score.
Wow, that's impressive.
And it was quick. So if you want
fast summons are really useful in the co-op. I've often used Sylph or Chocobo in the first wave just to avoid AoE attacks from the Behemoth before it dies, or to avoid a nasty attack from the plant golem and just help the other players along with me get through it faster.
Yeah, and it does, the fast summon chain really does only work. I mean, you can, like Kriese just said, you can use it to help you out here for a second if you're in trouble. But if you're all 3 using it, you can get that summon chain, which is really nice, because if you don't, you're not going to generate the other summons in time for the last wave. And the last wave is, of course, just like the Heretic, is the easiest of the 3 waves. So.
And as Macnol says in Twitch chat, it's a very front-loaded co-op. Use your summons early, use your abilities early, because the last wave is the easiest by far.
Yep. Aminosa says, a little unrelated, Lael is the FF equivalent of Marth, which I could not agree with more. Marth was as a character was unknown to audiences until he starred in a crossover, Super Smash Brothers, and then his popularity skyrocketed so much they brought that series over from Japan after being exclusive for like 10 years. And Lael, they're saying, is the same thing. Nobody knew Lael existed until DFFOO. This game has probably done more for his popularity than all of the Crystal Chronicles combined.
No doubt. So let's jump. If is there any other conversation we need to have about Heretics?
I just want to throw in a quick sentence or two, which is basically I was really disappointed with the rewards. I guess I'm not imagining things. People were saying usually we get more tickets and gems and armor tokens per co-op, right?
It did seem
for
like
the Heretic co-ops,
yeah.
It's typically this light. It's not uncommon for the Heretic co-ops to be about this.
Okay, good to know, because a lot of people, me included, felt like this was less rewards than usual. I was expecting this to pad my gem count a bit, but it was like not even 5%.
It did not at all. And we are.
Minosa agrees with me. It's about story co-op and Heretic co-op level are about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say I also heard a lot of differing opinions saying that this is the longer co-op. People are starting to realize a lot of people don't know how to play longer co-ops. And I've seen my share of really bad players. If I'm not, but yeah, it seems like this is atypical, and people are starting to see that a lot of people are having difficulty because their pugs cannot run these longer co-ops. They either don't use skills at all or use all their skills in the first wave.
I've definitely seen the same thing where I've seen Akos who will HP regen once, might once, and then just Brave Attack plus the rest of the fight until they lose Brave Attack plus, and they'll Smite again, and then they'll Brave Attack plus.
Speaking of people who don't know how to play things, just before we bridge to Maria event, Maria's LC, somebody asked in Discord this week, or a couple of people were asking a little bit more or wanting clarification on Thancred and how Thancred works. I'm not. You guys hit it a little bit. You went over it fairly quick last week in the show. But there's a couple things just to remind people when it comes to playing Thancred. Thancred gets an attack and a max brave boost when he targets a debuffed character. So it's not just poison. all of his moves, he gets more powerful because of his passive if he is targeting a character that has debuffs, right? Or if the enemy is debuffed. So that's one thing you need to know. The other one is, yes, his first two abilities get better if the target is poisoned. And his Ninki Brave attack and his HP plus attack and Shadow Fang, is that the name? Yeah, Shadow Fang all inflict poison. So make sure that you are able to do that. So. And the Ninki Plus Brave ability, there's been some confusion on that. That gives you a free ability use. So when you use Ninki Plus, it removes 3 Ninki, and then your next ability use, Jugulating Wasp or Shadow Fang, does not diminish your ability account. So that is how that works.
Just to be clear, Thancred actually has 2 Brave Plus abilities that can add together.
Yes.
After using Jugulating Wasp, he gets a Brave Plus that has a chance to apply poison and does extra damage if he targets an enemy with poison. And once he has 3 Ninki, it turns into Brave Plus Ninki, which consumes 3 Ninki and also gives him a free ability use on his next turn. However, note that that free ability use is invisible. There's no passive associated with it. There's no buff associated with it. So you have to keep track of that on your own.
Yeah, so he's a little bit of a complex character if you're not paying attention to his mechanics. So, and we're going to have a lot more of those coming up. So there will be a lot more complexity to our characters moving forward. So look forward to that. Always like that. So moving on to the Maria Lost chapter, the beautiful Archer. Did you gentlemen want to talk about Maria and her amazing awakening? We actually have on our Discord, we actually have 2 people, Arioli and Tatsumi, both have Maria fully limit broke and with her EX, and that is it, I believe.
I know. I think people have been doing searches for Maria assists, and I think Materia Bot has 3 total, and
nice.
those 2 are 2 of the 3. So
I will say that I fully awakened Maria just because I had a lot of spare blue eye shards and not because I had her weapons, because I do not have her weapons. I got a single copy of her 35 CP back when her event originally arrived, so she's still 0 LB, 35 CP, no 15 CP passive. But I can still talk a little bit about her awakening and what it brings, because, I wrote the whole freaking awakening analysis for some stupid reason.
Please do.
Okay, so Maria gets a passive boost to her Max Brave and attack while buffed. That's her Crystal Strength 54 passive. At Crystal Strength 58, she gets a speed buff and a Max Brave buff to the whole party. Just typical stuff for supports. The big thing she does is that her Proper Shot extension passive makes Proper Shot now hit 3 times. So instead of being a 1-hit range Brave wind attack, it's now 3 hits. It also gets a battery ability, so it raises the party's Brave based on 30% of her max Brave upon use. That's a pretty big deal. Along with giving her the ability to trigger an HP attack if she hits 80% of her max Brave with the ability. So she gets some good turn efficiency there. Arrow Rain, which is her AoE Brave plus HP attack that does split HP damage, is now 2 hits. It hits a little harder, but not massively harder. The big thing now is that it applies a small physical attack up buff to the whole party along with its normal attack up buff. It recovers much more HP, so it can recover up to 25% of max HP per ally on use, and it also gives her a Brave Attack Plus, which raises the party's Brave upon use by 50% of attack. Her big thing, though, is her EX ability. While it's a slow recast, it does a decent amount of damage at 600% attack over 3 hits, and it applies a unique debuff called Explosion. At the end of the opponent's turn that has Explosion applied, it steals Brave like Sap, and instead of applying it just to Maria, it applies it to the whole party. Downside is that because it applies at the end of the turn, it doesn't really protect against breaks because it's too late because the ability's already gone off for that opponent's turn, but it does apply some extra party Brave on top of what else she does. In general, what happened with Maria is that she turned into much more of an offensive support than she was before. Instead of being an offensive healer, now she's an offensive support support that can provide healing along with.
Thoughts, Mark?
Yeah,
I know that was a lot, but I hope you got it all.
No, I was playing around with Maria, and yeah, I mean,
I have.
No,
go ahead, Mark.
No, she, without her weapon, she's very lackluster, and I thankfully have a couple friends with fully limit broke Maria and her EX, and I mean, even with synergy, she just wasn't dishing out tons of damage. Now, I kind of like the idea of her working along with Thancred because of her party attack up, physical attack up, and her attack up. So she does do those double party buffs for attack, which is super nice. But, other than that, she's not doing super awesome damage. She has a little bit of a niche.
Yeah,
a little bit of elemental stuff, a little AoE, a little single target.
I'm finding it hard to find good things to say about her.
Maria doesn't have anything that she brings that's different from anyone else other than her explosion debuff.
Right.
However, she fills a lot of niches that other characters feel. So if you don't have a good burst healer, she does a pretty good job at that. If you don't have a good support character who can provide a lot of party brave, she can do that. If you don't have a way to debuff the opponent and just steal brave from them, she can do that too. She has a lot of ways she can fill into party slots that you might not be able to fill otherwise. But she doesn't bring anything super new to the party either. So she fills slots, but she doesn't bring anything unique, is what I'll say.
And if you want to learn more about Maria, you can always check out Kriese's, a.k.a. Xerink, Xerink's evaluation on Reddit. And he has a full evaluation of Maria and her awakening and her EX. And you can check that out with all of its numbers and all of its glory right there in case you are just hankering for awakening and pulling on Maria. So,
I will also say, sorry, before we move on, Lockgrant's been doing a great job of posting simple overviews of EX weapons, just the EX weapon, what the ability does, and all such. And I think he should get a call out now, too, because you usually don't hear about him in these environments. So, Lockgrant, thank you for your work with the EX overviews.
Yes, and check out Lockgrand's EX overview. I was going to do that, but I could not remember the username. So Lockgrand is the username, and he has done a very good job of doing a evaluation with the EXs. Just like many of our friends, Josepher and Broadway Saiyan 40, doing good stuff as well, and many others. Soul DFFOO. There's a lot of other good people out there on some video media giving good evaluations. But Kriese is our favorite, and so check him out first. Not to pick favorites. That brings us to the Harrowed level 100. Oh, how are we ever going to defeat it? Lost Chapter, Double Spark Eye.
What did you do, Mark? Because you probably did it the legit way, right? We'll talk about that glitch.
I did do it the legit way. Yeah, so for this A Beautiful Archer Part 13, quest level 100, 5 waves, you have a whole bunch of annoying things like the Lamias. So if you bring a man, they can get whatever, seduce, whatever that thing is. What's their power called?
Seduction. Or I don't
entice.
Exactly.
Entice. They can be charmed, and then you skip a turn. So it's kind of like paralyze. Then you have to fight these stupid evil eyes, which can paralyze you. Yeah, that actually casts paralyze. And then you have a wave with a ferocious avian, so don't take that for granted. It's not super hard, but that ferocious avian does have that what's it called, vicious, right? Which gives itself like 18,000 brave and can hit you really hard. And then the final fight is these two spark eyes. And if you don't remember the spark eyes, they're like evil eyes. They're white. They do a lot of thunder damage. They resist thunder and water. They are weak to ranged resist down, earth, and wind. And the big thing is they do this self-buffing. They don't give themselves visible buffs, but they give themselves invisible buffs. in 3 different levels, and you can tell because they have little orbs floating around them. So they almost immediately start with like self-buffing them once, and sometimes as you hit that final wave, they each self-buff and they each attack you before you get to go. So that really sucks. If they're doing the 1 orb, it's not too big of an issue. They start doing the 2 orb, they're going to start doing AoE attacks. They get all 3 orbs. They get a huge buff to attack, speed, and defense. And they do this power called Supercell, which is a huge AoE plus HP attack. And if you have characters with, let's say, less than 5,000 HP, they are going to be one-shot. And it is really, really tough to handle both of these guys with 3 self-buff auras around them.
I will say that this is not new. When we got the Maria X fight back in the 50 era, the Supercell destroyed me back then too, and I think I had to gem revive just to get the finish. I was never able to beat it and get the full complete.
Were you a newer player, Kriese?
Oh, I'd been playing since the beginning. I even had decent meta characters. I just didn't have a good handle on the gameplay mechanics still at the time.
Interesting. Oh,
so
yeah.
It was still troubling me, and I also didn't have all meta characters. I think I might have had Eiko at the time, and I think I had Kuja, and that was about it.
Gotcha, because I remember the glitch we'll talk about was present there too. But
I didn't know about the glitch back then.
Yeah, I had beaten it before I learned about the glitch. I didn't find it too difficult. I think I used Kane, Eiko, and I forgot my third, Kuja probably. Yeah, Kane, Eiko, Kuja. I was able to complete it no problem, but we'll get to the glitch in a second. Mark, who was your team for your final victory?
So if you remember, you have to bring Maria to get the full clear. So the first time, apparently everybody on our Discord does it the other way, but I always go for the character clear first. My Maria doesn't have anything. I actually used Lena's bow, a 20 level 15 CP bow from Lena, so that Maria could at least do something. She is not fully awakened. She is Crystal Strength 51, level 60. I did level her up earlier today, so she was level 60. Or yesterday, excuse me. And so I brought Thancred with his EX, Eiko, and Maria with a friend Thancred and brother summon. And I was able to get the complete clear in 88 turns, 132,000 points. That was for my Maria carry. How did I do that? I basically was very careful to limit how much damage I was doing to each of those Spark Eyes so that they were not both fully buffed at the same time, and then I double Thancreded the hell out of them once I summoned. So that was a lot of fun. And Eiko's doing awesome here. Eiko's buffed. She's doing great. Then I brought what? Then I brought your normal launch party for my full summon. I brought Lael, Thancred. Thancred's not normal. I just really wanted to use Thancred. Lael, Thancred, Eiko, Pandemonium with I actually used Macnol's Lael, so thank you, Macnol, and I appreciate Macnol's tccpodcast.com in his message. So if you want to change your message to tccpodcast.com, that is our website, and you can find all of the interesting stuff about us there, including our Discord and our email. If you ever want to send us an email, please do. We love to hear them and read them and respond to them. So I got 195,000, about 70 turns with that setup. So launch meta is very popular for this. You can use Lael, Eiko, Kate Sith, Lael, Friend. I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. I've seen Lael, Selfie, Kate Sith. I've seen Lael, Beatrix. My favorite run that I've seen, however, is Garnet, Eiko, Beatrix, Friend Lael, representing the all Final Fantasy IX main parties. So much respect to that run there. So that is if you want to actually put up with these stupid things, constantly hitting you with AoE attacks, constantly breaking you, and being real dickwads. But if you don't want to do that, how might you go about dealing with this mission?
I love how I love how Mark already knows I went for the extreme cheese way. But basically, let's talk about that glitch. All right. So first of all, my Maria has 0 weapons. I used a 0 level 1-star bow on her.
Nice.
So just like Mark, I always do my carries first. And going in with the 0 level 1-star bow on Maria, who's like level 50, once I heard that the glitch might still be in effect from the EX, I was like, that's what I'm going to do for my carry, because there's no way I'm going to do this legit with this Maria. The glitch, if people do not know from the GL EX days, is if you do 20% damage to one of the eyes or each of the eyes before their turn, they get stuck in a buff loop where they do what's the buff called? Does anyone know?
I cannot pronounce it.
Decapitance or something? I'm drunk. I don't know. But they do their personal buff. There's level 1, 2, and 3 that they do at different intervals of their HP throughout the fight. If you get them to 20%, if you do 20% damage to them, which we've calculated on Discord, the minimum someone has gotten away with is 45k damage to each before they have a turn to act, which should not be that hard. They get stuck in a buff loop where all they do is buff themselves and nothing else, and you can just take your time and wipe them out. So
yeah, their self buff is called capacitance.
Capacitance. All right, thank you,
Capacity,
Mark. And
I guess I don't have any idea what that.
So the common,
I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, the common strategy, which Mark just said, is normally they immediately buff themselves with the buff Capacitance 1 as soon as the wave starts. What a lot of people did back in the GL days was they would summon as right before they're going to clear wave 4 and kill the last mob. Then they would try to do 45k damage to each mob before they get a turn. You get 5 turns within summon. Should be pretty doable, especially with launch meta. And especially since if you're using launch meta with Setzer or Lael, you delay the turns, you get even more time. I was able to get about 150k damage on each before it went in, and they just got stuck in a buff loop. Then I just hit auto battle for the rest of the fight with Maria, and after 200 turns, I was able to clear with the Maria carry, no problem.
I saw a 405 turn.
Yeah, people people have done much worse. I was actually surprised I hit under 200 turns. I was like, wow, my auto battle must be pretty
for
good.
your learning today, capacitance is the ability of a system to store an electric charge. The ratio of a charge and an electric charge in a system of the corresponding change in its electric potential. Capacitance.
Wow.
You did not know that, Mino? What are you doing?
Did you know that, Kriese?
I knew enough to get by.
I bet
Kriese is a science professor. I majored in anime. It's completely different.
He's not a professor of physics.
But I learned enough about physics in undergrad to learn that.
I took physics 100 years ago.
Thank you. The stream chat is saying I didn't know either. Me feel bad. Thank you, chat. but the point is, that
again,
glitch...
context clues. It's a spark eye capacitance. It should be something with charge.
Oh man, that makes so much sense. But anyways, moving forward. So once I figured out that worked, I was like, let me just try to do that on my full run, and I did the standard launch meta, which is Selfie, Echo, Lael, Pandemonium, Summon, Lael Friend. Boom, got 220k on the score, 190k required. Piece of cake. There are a lot of people who are doing it without the score and find it more viable, which is fair because if you try to do the glitch, you have to summon early and blow a few turns. So you're going into the last wave on like 4 or 5 turns of summon, your friend unit used up, and most of your burst done. So the rest is a slow grind. I've seen people report that they've had... Huh? Go ahead.
You also have to delay your...
Oh, sorry. Someone corrected that on Discord, Mark, actually. The invisible... Yeah, only the level 3 hits the defense buff. So they don't actually get a defense buff. They just have a ton of defense. But what were you going to say, Kriese?
I was going to say that one of the things delaying to do this strat does is that you have to wait for your summon to be charged going into the final wave, which wastes turns if you're going fast, which might hurt you.
Yeah, so this is not a cure-all strategy. There are a lot of people on Discord who are finding it difficult to hit the target score with this strategy because they don't have enough DPS. So that's why I'm saying, like, it's not the best strategy. It's the safest strategy, but it's not the best strategy because you're wasting all your resources early, and then you have to peter out the rest of the fight in hopes you get under the turn, which I don't know what the turn requirement is. I think 80, maybe even less. Do either of you know?
I have not had a chance to actually try it out myself, so I'm not sure.
Mark, what did you hit on your run? I think I was a little under 80.
Turns?
Mark?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, what are you looking for? I didn't quite catch it.
Oh, I said, do you remember your turn count for your clear?
Yeah, my Maria clear was 88 turns. My full clear was 70 turns.
Okay, so let's say under 80 to be safe for the requirement, guys. And again, I had a ton of launches and overkills to pad my...
That was with a lot of launches, yeah.
Yeah, to pad my score. So it could be even tighter. But we're saying the glitch is not for everyone. If you can't get the score, try doing it normally. It does take a little more thought, but it's nowhere near as difficult as the...
You need a lot more healing than you would bring otherwise, too.
Yeah, but it's nowhere near as difficult as, say, Deuce EX or the Heretics. So don't be afraid to try it legit. But I did not feel bad about taking advantage of the glitch at all because
that's my question. So this glitch, quote unquote, existed in Japan.
We're not sure about that. We don't have any confirmation on that.
We don't have confirmation. Okay, we haven't heard confirmation on that one way or the other. But we know it existed in Global in the Maria event the first time. That was over 6 months ago. They've had 6 months to correct it. They decided not to correct it. So I'm not sure that it's really a glitch. Is it just a strategy? Is it just a weakness in the boss? Right? I mean,
sounds like AI manipulation to me, which leans on glitch category. It doesn't sound like the same sort of thing that happened with the Rydia event, where they broke the AI intentionally after a patch and left it that way.
Oh, sorry, to capture some Twitch chat. RLA says, the EX was about medium difficulty. I'd say that even without Maria along for the ride, like if you don't have a built Maria, it's still pretty medium. And here we go. Sism says he got 79 turns and 190k score. So I think you're fine as long as you're under 80.
I think that's with launches, though.
Probably. But as in regards to the launch, to add on to what Mark said, is basically you have no pity exploiting the glitch for many, many reasons. First is, this is going to be a great segue into our next segment, State of the Game, unless you guys have more to add. But basically, really bored and burned this month. Because, I mean, long story short, we'll get to that. Kriese tricked me out of all my gems. And then I threw 25k at Thancred, so I'm at no gems right now. So I'm already a little bitter at the game.
I tried to keep you from spending those gems on Thancred. I tricked you into spending about 50k gems in total. I will take credit for the 50k gems you spent to pity Kanex, but nothing else.
I'm also feeling that pain.
Yeah. So I'm at no gems. I was like, screw this LC, don't care about Maria, gonna take advantage of it. And also, shame on GL, because like Mark said, glitch has been known for 10 months or so. Back in what, September? Oh,
Maria was came a September event.
September,
yes.
September
back since September plus months. GL knew that this glitch existed. They knew. It was
16th.
reported on Reddit. You know, Square Enix Joshua said they were aware of it. But since it was in the player's favor, they weren't rushing to correct it, which is fair. So they knew about this glitch, and in the JP version, at least we had tested in the current version, it was fixed. So I do want to say it is a glitch, Mark, because they did fix it, whether it existed or not in the JP version. And so if this was a carryover of the JP version, then they should have been aware that this would be a problem because of the Knights of Arc 2 Chapter 1.
Right.
Had plenty of warning signs that this might be a problem. 2 warning signs, yet they did nothing to fix it. So if that's the case, I'm going to take advantage of it. No problem.
Yeah, I don't think you should feel bad. It's not easy. I mean, it's not like, you know, I mean, yeah, you can clear it, but to get the highest score, you still have to think through your moves and have a decent strategy. So one way or the other, and it's just a lost chapter, so who cares? Get your gems. Don't feel bad.
Get your gems. Get your gems. Hold on. Aminosa says they did fix it eventually in the GLEX stage while it was up, when her event was up.
Oh, I don't recall that.
I do not remember that, but I also missed out on the whole glitch thing, so I'm not sure.
So do it now.
Pearson says glitch is only very useful for a Maria carry, which is very fair. Debatably useful and going for the score challenge. Yeah. As we said, some people have had luck with it, some people have not. So that is a good thing to keep in mind.
So moving on.
Someone else asked about the chapter, Arc 2, Chapter 1, 11 node. That is fixed now. The HP is no longer hilariously high.
Yes, that was fixed.
And the stats, yeah.
And we were given
it's now a
gems.
joke.
Yep. For clearing.
We were?
For clearing our
for the clear.
Chapter 1, yep. Mm-hmm. So that brings us to our host discussion, which is state of the game. We have a little bit of a slowdown in terms of gems and in terms of content this month, with perhaps surprises on the way, but right now it's a little bit of a slow. There's been some changes to GL in terms of our order, and now we've had some surprises with Thancred EX. Maybe we'll have an early rework. Maybe we'll have some other things. There's some stuff going on. So how are you all feeling about the current state of the game? How are you feeling about this month, April, as we've been in it only 4 days?
I know, right? Time seems to be crawling because of the schedule. But I'll hand it off to Kriese first. What do you think about this entire month's calendar and schedule?
Mark kind of coupled a couple things in there, so I'll try to unpack it a little bit. First, surprises. They've been trying very hard to unload surprises on us, I think, since last summer in different ways. For example, with the early character events, and then the early EX weapons, and then the EX weapons out of order, and then the surprise Beatrix event. So they've been trying to do this for a while, and they begin much more creative in hiding the surprises from us, like early Noctis, for example, and early Tidus EX, and early Thancred EX and Beatrix. We don't find out about these until the day of, recently especially. But as far as this month goes, I will say that I think they're doing this is because there's some surprise there. It feels like the schedule is missing something. Like, even with 2 awakening waves and 1 character event and 2 lost chapters, it feels like something's missing. Because usually we have 2 character events, 2 awakening waves, something else thrown in the mix, and something there. So there's something missing, and I don't know what it is, and I think they're trying to trip us up because Thancred EX was a big surprise, and they're not telling us what the other EX weapon is on the next awakening wave.
You tell me if I'm wrong,
keeping my hopes.
Am I the only one who's like annoyed that our calendars are not like just an entire month?
Like, oh my god! All right.
Hey, I'm glad we got the calendars. I don't mean to complain about it, but like,
okay,
you know,
here's
18,
my thoughts on the
18
calendar
days
right
is
now.
not a calendar. That's like
what they're trying to do with the calendars is they're trying to make it from content update to content update, and
right.
where our content updates happen to be on the last week of the month. So they only give us stuff up until the last week of the next month, which means probably Locke is the last week of this month, if we're going to get him this month. And that's the reason it looks so barren, is because they're just hiding it from us because they don't want to show it. Because they're going to have another stream probably the last week of the month. They're going to say, oh yeah, Lock's coming, and surprise.
Calendar's terrible. I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm letting you and Kriese go first because I have both good things and bad things to say about all of this. So Kriese took the positive angle. Calendar sucks. Very disappointed in the GL calendar because we already established GL just copy and paste so much from JP. Why couldn't they have taken their calendar? I think proof of that is if you look at our Reddit, if you're a regular visitor to our Reddit, the GL calendar will go up. Then later that day, we have someone dedicated to that I can't think of the name of, friend of Quetz's, that does it and within 24 hours, takes the same calendar, does it in the JP format, and it gets far more upvotes than the official GL calendar. And everyone, all the comments all say, "Thank God you did this. Thank you. GL calendar is terrible." I don't know why they couldn't just.
Yeah, it is funny that the global calendar is a different format than the Japanese game calendar. Doesn't seem to make any sense.
I think the thing is the difference in mentalities. The Japanese calendar is organized by date of release, whereas the global calendar is currently released based on content type. So they break out awakening waves and new story chapters and character events and lost chapters to make it easier. If you're looking for a very specific type of content, you can go to that section of the calendar. The thing is that a lot of people, I think, just want to know what's coming next, and it's harder to see what's coming next on the current calendar that we have.
I agree.
There are a few people on Twitch who are giving some love to the GL calendar. So Retro Gamer Dad says he prefers the GL calendar, and GRW18 says I'm good with the GL calendar. Hate 13 says aesthetically the calendar's horrid. So
it's fair. I will respect that. You're right that Retro Gamer Dad and GRW18 are making their voices known, that they do like the GL calendar. I guess, like Kriese said, I'm the type that likes to see what's coming sequentially rather than categorically.
Well, I don't care how it looks. I just my obsessive compulsiveness just wants it to be an entire month.
Technically, it is. It's the last week of March up through the last week of April.
They always drop it right before
hiding
the new month,
whatever
right?
surprises they have in between, which hasn't really happened yet.
I guess it does.
So we'll see if it happens this month.
It does go to the 25th, but there's no events for the last 2 weeks of April.
There's no event past the 18th of April.
Yeah, that's not even a full event. So I mean that's really, so you have, Agrias on the 8th, Palom on the 15th, Awakening on the 18th,
Awakening Wave on the 18th, and then there's just Eidoja artifacts after that, which is the reason a lot of people suspect there's some sort of surprise spring event coming around the Eidoja artifacts.
Right. Doubt it.
Yeah,
but
that means there's nothing on the 21st, nothing on the 25th, or nothing on the 21st, nothing on the 24th or 22nd, 25th. Nothing on the 28th, nothing on the 30th.
GRW18 wants to specify that he's distancing himself from Retro Gamer Dad. He says, "Yeah, presentation-wise, calendar looks like crap. I agree on that." Is what GRW18 says. Man. But for what it does, I will take it.
That's funny.
Retro Gamer Dad, we have not talked about Agrias yet. You have not missed that.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. But back on topic. Kriese, do you think we're getting gypped this month, as is the popular opinion?
It depends. I don't want to talk looking forward because I still suspect we're in for some surprise that they're trying to hide from us and doing a very bad job at doing it, because it seems like we're missing stuff. If we come to the end of April and there's nothing that's coming up that is not on the calendar before the next content update, yes, I do agree. I think everyone who does the math on gems per month and content dates and what we get per time frame will agree. It seems like the content load we are getting is low this month. If we are actually getting some sort of surprise and they're doing a bad job hiding it from us, then no. But again, it's hard for me to say it.
Yeah. Hey, since you brought it up, and I agree with Kriese. If all we're getting is from the 28th of March, and like I said, I like to look at things month by month, so whatever. But if all we're getting on this calendar is 2 Waves of Awakenings, 2 LCs, 1 character, and some Eidoja farming, it's a little bit lackluster. Now, if there's a surprise spring event and we get Lock at the end of the month, then it's fine. There was some concern that last month, March, we only got like 34,000 free gems. So normally we've been getting between 45 and 50, upwards of 60,000 free gems per month in the very busy months of like January and February. I have been keeping track as of last month from the 28th of February, and I am keeping track this month as well. So last month we did not come in that low. Last month it's still lower than we have in a long time. It was 40. I had 46,120. One of the other Redditors was a little bit lower than me, but still in the same vein of around 45,000. So, that's still a lower gem count than normal. If they are projecting this month, it could be 25,000.
Which means there's a lot missing or hidden on the calendar. Is what you're saying.
And if we're only getting 1 costume, then that cuts into how I figure out my stuff, because I've been going on the 2 costume system. So yeah, it could be rough. So yeah, I mean, I started this month with 148,720, and right now I'm at 154,920. So, for 4 days, that's pretty good, I would say. But yeah, it's gonna drop off real quick if we don't start getting content here over the end of the month, the second half of the month.
Mino, sorry, yeah. I'm hearing that we need to find a way to trick Mark into pity rating 2 EXs this month.
We'll figure it out. But moving on is representing the other side is Pearson makes a great point in the Twitch chat. He says, if it's the case, as Kriese and Mark are saying, it's a poor job communicating with the community. Very easy for them to up a spot on the calendar and say, oh my god, big surprise, and it would be perfect and generate hype and get people talking positively. But also, what's the point of giving us a calendar if they're going to keep a big surprise every month? That everyone wants communication so they can plan. By keeping everything a surprise, it kind of defeats the purpose.
I will also argue that from the get-go, it was made explicit that not everything would be necessarily on the calendar. Surprises, special events would not be on it. Joshua made that clear in the official announcement of the calendar a few months ago.
That's fair, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the JP calendars map out everything, even their seasonal events. The JP calendar does not spring surprises on people, which I think is what a lot of these people in chat are saying, Macnol included, is what's the point of giving us the communication we wanted if you're just going to keep big things a surprise? Like, you're just still screwing people by trying to spring surprises on them, which the Thancred EX was.
But
totally
different.
Screwed me out of 25k gems.
No, but I mean that
was a different surprise, because you got the calendar and it wouldn't have been on the calendar anyways.
So that's the kind of surprise they could do. They can throw an early rework, they can throw an early EX, they can throw early kind of patch or quality of life updates. But yeah, why hide that? There's a spring event. Why not put spring event? Or, why hide that Lock's going to be at the end? Just tell us Lock's going to be, and think, oh, there's going to be nothing. Or, I don't understand the marketing perspective behind it. So you have the most devoted fans basically just complaining to each other, right? How does it help their sales? I mean, again,
I agree. Like,
the average fan's going to pull up the calendar and say, "Oh, okay, these things are going on." But is the average fan? I guess my question is: the average fan, the fan that's contributing to the game, and that's a good question. I don't know the answer to. You know, is there 100,000 players in South Korea who aren't on Reddit, who aren't on Discord, who just spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on this game and without thinking about it? And I don't know. Or are the people who are invested on, I feel like if you're investing money in a game, you're going to probably be on Reddit, you're going to be on Discord, you're going to look at YouTube videos, you're going to listen to a podcast, you're going to probably be a little bit invested in the community if you're spending money on it. But maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know.
I mean, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think having a sparse calendar is not doing them any favors, but I also want to mention that Star Shadow was calling out something I've forgotten to mention too, which is their last stream went horribly. It was out of their control, but they basically could not hold it, and that might have been something that they meant to talk about, and it was missed in the transition to just posting it online. That doesn't excuse them, but it is something worth talking about too.
I was going to interject and say that no, they were having video problems, no audio problems.
I was having audio problems too on my end, just to say.
Okay, but they were having no audio problems, and they were talking through the slides, no problem. The only thing that stream did was prevent co-ops, and screw that. They eventually ended up showing the slides and just talking through them, no problem. So I don't think that's an excuse. If they wanted to explain it, they would have. To add on to that, JP always, no matter how slow they were, announced 2 LCs, 2 character events. GL always had the motto that we'll get as much as JP, if not more. So the fact that we got less, 1 character event and 2 LCs, is very startling to a lot of people. Not only that, but if they thought a second wave of Heretics was enough to cover the excitement for an event, they're clearly wrong. I don't think I've talked to anybody who thinks that, oh, these 6 characters are going to awaken, especially the last batch, which were just the afterthought characters, that they were just like, oh, right, these are the guys we forgot about. We better awaken them to make it complete. As we'll see.
And also the lopsided crystal colors of yellow and red that have been really off the whole way through.
Not only are they lopsided, but they're freaking awful. Like,
I don't know. Some of the awakenings are really good in that batch. I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves by a few weeks, but not all of them are game changers. Not all of them are even decent, but some of them are okay.
Your Highness says, I actually love the rapid fire slides in comparison to the rest of their stream.
Yeah,
I agree.
A lot of people thought that stream was great. Right?
I agree. I'd rather them just give us the info without the co-ops, to be honest. Because I know JP, some Aminosa just said, Mino, don't forget, GL and JP are different games, but he doesn't have those co-op challenges. They just give the awards and give the news. I think I would prefer that. I don't think these co-ops are doing the community any favors. That's just my personal opinion.
One last question before we move on, unless there's anything else you guys want to talk about in the state of the game. So they originally allowed us to mess with the order of events. So we got early Kucha, there's early Noctis, late Kefka, so we mixed it all up. It was a mess. And that changed the dynamic of the game for a while, right? So they decided, no, we're not going to do that. But now they're throwing an early rework at us with an early EX. Do you think that's going to change the nature of the game if they keep doing that, or was this just like a God Emperor Zaz thing, that this was Thancred's just a one and done? We're not going to see that for another few months, so don't worry about it. Or do you think we're going to start seeing more and more early reworks?
Let me chime in on that. So I believe I was talking to Kriese on Discord about it, and we're caught up on EXs. We're a little ahead of EXs because GL introduced EXs early. In Japan, they didn't come till Wave 3. But I'm Wave 2. So we're slightly ahead. So if you're following, the calendar, everyone knew Seymour was coming this wave, Lightning's coming next wave. That's expected. But this wave was supposed to be Seymour and Ramza. We got Ramza early. It was supposed to be Lightning and Zell. We got Zell early. So we're 2 EXs ahead of. I think this is going to be a regular thing. Thancred should have been an easy prediction none of us made, because Thancred was released for an FF14 celebration event.
I will argue that I called Thancred EX coming early. I did not call his Awakening rework coming early too. I thought that they would delay his rework but still drop his EX early and just say and call it a day. I didn't think they'd do the whole gamut there.
That's fair. So Thancred should have been an obvious guess because he came with a JP only event of a FF14 anniversary, and probably not going to get that in GL, obviously. So him coming, because we all know, following the pattern, is that all the EXs we get are previously awakened characters, and there's always one magic, one melee. Seymour's the magic, Thancred's one magic, one physical. Seymour's the magic, Thancred's the physical. And then next Awakening wave, we got Lightning guaranteed, quote unquote guaranteed, because she's getting her costume.
Right.
Someone missing on the magical side. And now this is even harder to guess. Kriese and I have been going back and forth, talking about the crystal waves and everything. So if we're talking about one physical, one magic, Lightning takes care of the physical. So who are the magics coming up that aren't tied to an event or LC? And again, they can mix this up because we got Tidus EX, who was tied to Fang event super early, and then Zell switched in for that. So who knows? But if we're talking about a magic not tied to an event or LC, the choices are Sarah and Vanille. And the guesses are Vanille because Red Crystal. I think Kriese did some number crunching about like the crystal characters tied to EX is released, and Vanille would be thematic there with Lightning.
Yeah, because Lightning's yellow, Vanille would be red, right?
And considering it's a red and yellow Awakening wave, that would make the most sense to me. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, the guess is Vanille.
That's a good guess.
Either way, we're definitely going to get an early EX coming up because, again, GL is ahead on EXs.
Yeah, 5 DPZ. Vanille is on a free summoning board, but they could take her off. I mean, right?
Yeah. The summon boards, we want to say, are not as strict as EX and, LC and event.
Yeah, Sarah
we've seen even event banners are fluid with Zell EX, with Fang.
Yeah. So early Yuna EX. So that's what I'm guessing.
Right. So going
anyway.
on with that thought is basically crap. What did you just say before this? Before saying moving on, any thoughts about that? Oh, right. I don't think Thancred is equal to Saw's EX at all.
No, not at all.
I agree too.
We've all discussed on Discord that Thancred when Thancred EX came out in JP 3 months in the future, he's okay. Pretty viable. He doesn't get time to shine. Coming in early.
You mean Thancred, or you mean Thancred Awakening? Oh, you mean Thancred EX and Awakening. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah. Thancred EX. So he was pretty viable, not great. Not a meta character you had to pull for. Coming in early now, he gets time to shine, which GL is all about. But also, after discussion, he's not necessary. In fact, we've had several people on our Discord server say that they regret pulling super hard for Thancred EX because they realize they don't have to use him to clear content. I still think he's super. I wish I got him.
Well, you didn't need Zaz to clear content either, but the difference between Zaz early release and Thancred early release was Zaz makes other characters better. Thancred does not.
And the thing is, many people did feel like they needed Zaz to compete because we got GL exclusive EXs shortly after Zaz released, stuff that JP never got, and people felt like Zaz made it viable. Thancred coming early means nothing. if you stick to the schedule and pull your metas, you can completely ignore Thancred and be fine. Nowhere near the same impact. And I wanted to bring up that people are we didn't talk about the difficulty that I know both of you wanted to talk about, but we got our first Hell month in GL in November with Lena, Sephiroth, Sid, EXs that didn't exist in Japan and were completely overtuned. And a lot of people hated the game and wanted to quit. This was JP's first Hell month, and we're seeing the same reaction right now of people complaining about the difficulty with Deuce EX, this Heretics, Agrias EX is going to be a pain in the ass coming up. People are probably going to
be... is saying that I'm lying because you did need Zaz to complete some things. It certainly was true that Zaz made things tons easier. I think if we had Macnol's video guides back then, maybe we would have seen there were a lot more possibilities than we thought there were. But yeah, Zaz made things so much easier. And I think, again,
I will also...
Go ahead, Kriese.
I will also state that at the time SAWS 35 arrived, we did not have Awakenings yet, number one. And number two, we were not in a self-buffing wave of states where characters could buff themselves up where they were actually doing good damage. We had to rely on, before SAS arrived, it was Eiko. And Eiko gave 10% bonuses to attack and max brave, and we considered that great before SAS arrived. And he was giving 6% bonuses to those stats. That was a huge bonus.
He killed my boy Kane. Kane could give himself 60% to attack and max brave by himself before Saz showed up. Then Saz showed up and could give it to everybody, and he stole Kane's thunder. I'll never forgive him for that.
Never forget.
Again, SAS 35 was designed with Awakenings in mind, and it broke the game. I don't think anyone disagrees with that nowadays. It broke the game for a month and a half.
Right. And again, Thancred cannot be used with everyone. In fact, Thancred does not have a lot of good friends to use right now because Thancred was really tuned with some upcoming characters in mind. There are some future characters that are going to really pair well with him, and some characters currently that do kind of. But you just can't throw Thancred with any two people and expect to do great.
Right.
He by himself does fine, but
Thancred is also tied to debuffs for his passive buffs, which is a big downside. Most great characters are tied to just buffing themselves, and Thancred needs to debuff the opponent before he's at full power. And he's to poison the opponent, specifically poison them before he's at max power.
Yeah. So, I mean, I predict we're going to get another early EX at the end of this month for the next Awakening wave. I predict Vanille or Sarah. Either one is going to be extremely strong, stronger than Thancred. So be excited for that. But if we're wrong and it's someone completely out of left field, who freaking knows? But expect GL to keep throwing us curveballs because, like we said,
Ultimacia EX. I think that's
I've said it in the TCC podcast Discord, but just to make it explicit, the only early EX I will pull for on the next Awakening wave is Ash EX. Anyone else, I'm skipping. So, Mino, you can hold me to that.
Very nice.
Okay, I'm holding you to that. But yeah. So expect a lot of curveballs to still be thrown at GL for sure. We're ahead on EXs. Early EXs and reworks are coming. But other than that, I mean, anything else you guys want to touch on the difficulty, guys, or is that like a passé subject? Because I know that's been a huge complaint. The biggest complaints this month, state of the game. People are saying slow month with very little to do. I know myself, like the second half of the month is all Eidoja farming. Big pass on me. Everyone knows I hate artifact farming. I'm not excited for that at all. And then the difficulty of the events, which isn't over yet, because Agrias is going to be a huge pain in the ass too. Get ready for that, guys, next month. Oh, and I'm not a fan of the dead week in the middle of the month. Usually we get it at the end of the month, between updates. Next week, we're getting Agrias on Sunday and nothing on Wednesday, and that's it.
Yeah, right.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, we're going to talk about what we're going to do on that next show, if we're going to do a show, but it's one event for an entire week. This is I don't know what GL's doing, but that's a shit way to schedule the schedule.
Well, I'm not particularly struggling with any content right now, but I do recognize the increase. I will say I think this and the Heretics were not as RNG dependent as the Deuce EX. I mean, my big problem with the Deuce EX battle was it was so RNG dependent, restarting. And again, I didn't have synergy characters. Maybe with synergy characters, it was a little bit easier. I don't think I had any confirmation of that. But I wasn't restarting on the Heretics. I didn't restart. I didn't really have to restart on this current LC. We'll see how Agrias is, but yeah, I think that Deuce EX just was tuned way off.
Yeah, the Kriese wants to say that Lael EX is also a yellow crystal and not tied to any event. So there's a I think Lael EX would break the game if it came out. I would wail hard for that. But
Lael EX early would be game breaking. It gives them way too much. And I will also say that I'm still on burnout from last month, considering that Fang EX was a challenge for me to get the full score completion, and I never got the full score completion from Deuce EX. I just couldn't do it. And the last Heretic event, I couldn't get full score completion. And I'm only finally starting to get into the state where I'm actually completing stuff again.
Yeah, I was going to ask
knowing the content and knowing what's going forward and what's going on, and I'm hoping Agrias event is not as hard as people say, and I'm hoping I have an easier time with Maria than people are telling me it will be.
I wanted to shoot the question to you because Mark is one side of the equation where he says that Deuce EX was a struggle, he got through it, and Heretics was a breeze for him because he had all the best characters. He had you pulled Thancred EX, right, Mark?
Yeah, I have Thancred, fully limit, bro.
Yeah, he got Thancred EX, Aiko, and he had the best possible team comp he could have for the Heretics. But Kriese here is on the opposite end with very little synergy, and he struggled very hard this month. So, Kriese, did you want to say anything about the difficulty?
I hope the difficulty gets easier, because what I'm finding is when I have synergy, I don't have problems, and when I do not have synergy, I'm screwed, and I have to struggle really hard. And that's not really fun, because I don't want to have to pull every time, especially when some of the banners are for characters I don't care about, and some of the banner characters are just not characters that have been around often. For example, Deuce was Aerith, Ace, and Deuce, and while I technically had weapons for Ace, that was one character, and he was a pure damage dealer, which I could replace, but Aerith and Deuce were supports, offensive and healing supports, and I could slightly replace them, but not good enough for what they wanted me to do, so it was frustrating, is what I want to say.
Yeah, difficulties is a huge subject I think we can even talk about next time. Mark wants to do a big roundtable with a bunch of content creators for our special 50th episode, so we could probably go more in depth there. We're running out of time here, though, but
yeah, so let's move on just briefly, because this topic did not go over the first time we talked about it, so I don't think it's going to go over well this time. Question of the week a couple weeks ago was, who would you cast in the DFFOO movie? You can see our Reddit post there. It did not get a lot of or any votes. I think it's at 0. I will say this. So somebody said Johnny Depp for Jet, and since Mino's such a good Jet fan, I think Mickey Rourke for Jet.
Mickey Rourke is much better than
Mickey
Johnny
Rourke.
Depp.
Yeah, I think for Jet. So do you guys want to say, who would you cast, one character, an actor you would cast for the DFFOO movie?
I'll pass.
I am bowing out of this.
Okay, good. So next week, much better question. Before we lose all of our viewers, much better question. We want your input. We're going to put it on Reddit. Please upvote. Please comment. In Japan, besides the April Fools, there was an April Fool's summon. I don't know tons of details, but the Moogle, right? What was it called? Something Moogle with Terra. So there was an April Fool's summon in Japan. Anyway, since that, there are really no new... Japan does not have any more summons than we do. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so Japan does not have additional summons. And so we were talking a couple weeks ago, like, well, I guess we've used up all the summons. There's tons of summons that have not been used. And so the question for next week, which new summon and or summon effect would you like to see in DFFOO? So what summon do you like that we don't have yet? And maybe what summon effect do you want to see from summons? There are some mechanics that are just not represented at all in summoning. So just encourage you to talk about that and see what we can have for a good conversation on
I will throw
summons.
my vote in right now for a new summon.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Siren improves poison and sap effects for a few turns.
Nice.
That's smart. Yeah.
Nice.
I was gonna say one of those naysayers who told Mark there's nothing else they can do.
Then we spent 4 hours just listing possible summon combinations.
And Mark corrected me. He said all the current summons do invisible buffs to the characters, like Ifrit with attack and Brothers with Max Brave. We could have a whole set of summons do invisible debuffs to the characters, which is an ingenious idea. I think Mark is really onto something.
Very smart. So, looking ahead, our next event coming up on Sunday is Agrias, our Final Fantasy Tactics Paladin. Or Knight. Is she a Paladin?
Holy Knight, not Paladin.
Yeah,
Holy Knight.
Paladin wasn't right.
Paladin.
So, anything we want to say about Agrias? A lot of arguments about whether or not she's like Beatrix. She has a similar kit to Beatrix, I would argue, but each of the moves are obviously different. So, anything we want to say about Beatrix? Beatrix is great. I like her. Anything we want to say about Agrias or about the event in general?
I'll say that Agrias, on a superficial level, is very similar to Beatrix, but when you look at what her kit does, she's very different, and that's all I'll say for now. She does a lot of different things. She brings different buffs, debuffs, specializations that Beatrix doesn't cover. So look forward to when I review her or analyze her later this week. I think she'll be exciting for a lot of people. She won't be like meta changing, but she'll be fun.
I completely disagree with Kriese. I think they're the same character. They're both paladins / holy knights. They both use holy sword magic, as in like the command, not actually magic attacks, which I've been slammed. They're both blonde and they both have one eye. I think they're the same character.
They don't both have one eye.
Agrias has both of her eyes, right? I don't. Anyway,
she does have both of her eyes. Mino's talking about this right now.
And so, what is the boss that we are looking ahead to in the Agrias event?
Do you want to cover this, Kriese?
No.
Do you know?
Okay. Well, I think they're called Silver Seers, right? I forget. But they are 99% magic attacks.
Yes.
And their whole gimmick is that they have this phase called levitation where they levitate and start doing super attacks, like huge brave shaves, or they even have a gimmick where if they're broken, like an attack specifically when they're broken, they'll restore their brave up to a certain amount and then do an HP attack. So the whole thread is when they levitate, they are in instant kill state. And the whole thing is because Agrias's gimmicks are that she has a AoE paralyze with a 15% chance compared to Cloud's single target paralyze with a 35% chance. And her EX has a guaranteed silence, which is just like Kefka's HP attack silence, but more specific. Kefka silences all HP attacks. Agrias only silences magic attacks. So
Agrias actually silences magic brave and magic HP attacks. Keep that in mind.
It's brave and
right.
HP.
So it's still purely magic attacks, whereas yeah. So the gimmick is that when they levitate, they have 2 or 3 turns or 1 or 2 turns of super attacks. And they try to force you to use Agrias by saying, throw some paralyzes, throw some silences, and you will prevent their one-hit KO status. If you don't have Agrias, We'll see what happens. Look up videos.
The alternative seems to be, based on what I'm seeing on builds, is dispel their buffs when they do that super levitate, and then you can shut down their brave by shaving it.
Yep.
And as we
people do you have people were using Cloud in Japan for this event.
Yes,
so
I was going to bring
Cloud that we have. People were using Cloud for his Paralyze, and also friend Agrias for that EX and Paralyze as well. So
exactly. Majority of videos out there right now are saying bring a friend MLB Agrias with that EX to silence them. Or bring Cloud to paralyze cheese this fight. But basically, this fight is considered almost as bullshit as Deuce EX because they're saying you need to somehow skip their goddamn turn or they will kill you in one go. So, paralyze and silences.
I will mention that when the bosses do their crazy brave build levitate thing, it's a slow turn rate ability, which means you have a lot of time to do something to shave it. You have to dispel, or you have to paralyze, or you have to do something, but you have time to do it. It's not like the Steam bots that just take a turn right away and kill you because you don't have time to react.
Right. And I believe Ferris is synergy for this event, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
they are weak to water.
Ferris is yeah.
So
Ferris is
do Ferris, Garnet. I don't know, somebody.
They are resistant to a lot of elements, though, so be careful.
The synergy is Agrias, Ferris, and Ash. Everyone agrees Ash is useless.
Pretty much.
But Ferris and Agrias are super useful.
Pretty much. I was going to see if I could pull up the Silver Seers.
Rolai asked if this is a boss you have to kill together, or can you focus one? Like previous dual bosses, this is a boss that self-buffs itself pretty big when one dies. I'm not sure if it becomes impossible to kill if one is alive and the other is dead.
Yeah,
but
there's an
it's
enrage.
Probably a good idea to try to balance out their HP values.
It's like rule of thumb that whenever you get double bosses like this one, you have to kill them together.
Right.
If you kill one early, the huge invisible buff increase to their attack and defense, and and they levitate right away to try to one-hit kill you. So kill together.
Good time.
We'll see how this works out. I'm hoping it won't be as bad as we've heard on the JP side of things on how terrible it was for them.
All right. Well, as we wrap up today, I just want to thank Kriese for being here and all of our content creators, especially Manta and Quetz. I almost said Macnol. I almost said the other thing. I'm sorry, Macnol. It's Mino's fault. All of our friends on Reddit. We thank all those good folks, Shara and Quetz, and all those who are working on the Reddit and the Discord, official Discord, for your good work. We do have our own Discord. Feel free to join our Discord, and you can find out more information about all of our stuff at tccpodcast.com. tccpodcast.com. That is the official The Crystal Chronicles podcast website where you can get connected to all of us. Upcoming events: Agrias event is April 8th. Palom LC April 15th, Final Awakening Wave April 18th, and then the Spring Hunt also starts April 18th. So that is it. So, gentlemen, thank you very much. Mino, Kriese, a.k.a. Xerink, for your time. Thanks, Kriese, for filling in at the last minute for us as well. Thank you, everybody on Twitch. Thank you, everybody listening at home. We hope to see you next week. Next week, we may have just a co-op. I'm not going to be able to be here, and I would really like to be here for episode 50. So there may just be some co-op discussion fun next week at this time. And then the week after, we're going to try to do some Q&A, some roundtable discussion, maybe have a few other folks on. So just be checking us out in the Discord or on Twitter or on Facebook or just on our website to make sure that you know what we're doing. Until then, this has been the Crystal Chronicles, your official, unofficial source for all things Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. I'm Mark, and for Mino Spell Good and Kriese, a.k.a. Xerink, we hope you have a great week and good luck in all your pulls. Until then, goodbye.